Hey guys, it's General back again for another video, and today we're going to be doing another ranked and explain. Today we're going to be taking a look at every single moon card in Anime Card Clash. But before we begin the video, only 7.5% of you who watch the videos are subscribed to the channel. So if you're watching the videos and you're enjoying them, subscribe to the channel. And what I can promise you is more content, better content, and to reply to every single one of you who interacts with the content. We also have a Discord server, link in the description, as well as a Roblox community, so you can join that as well. If you want to stay in the know of events, live streams, giveaways, and anything else we have planned as a community, join these platforms. Anyway, let's get to the video.
That's what I'm talking about. This shit means something to me, man.
I got you. All right. So I'm Nino. I'm one of the original team builders on a 125 plus Lux server. I also frequent the normal ACC Discord every once in a while. A lot of the time I'm in the suggestions. I'm looking in to see what people are talking about nerfing or buffing, or sometimes I'm reporting bugs on certain abilities and things like that. So I'm just here to kind of talk about, what my take on some of these moon cards are, if they're good, if they're bad, if they have any usability at all, or where we're at, So that's who I am in Roblox. My name is Haveril. I don't know if anyone's ran into me before, but yeah. Other than that, yeah, that's all I have to say about myself.
Yeah, and that's Nino. What we're gonna do, call out the name, read the description, and then we'll start discussing based off that. So we can go with the first card, which is going to be...
It'll be Surgeon of Death, I think, is what's listed. Yeah, it's Surgeon of Death first, technically. But I have no idea how it's listed on the moons now, because they kind of messed up the rarity in order thing. But it's Surgeon of Death would be the first one. He's the lowest stat and he's the lowest rarity.
Okay, yeah, so let's do Surgeon of Death first.
Yep, so for Surgeon of Death, it's pretty straightforward. Just kind of to open up in the video, when it comes to stats, if we were just talking about cards in a perfect world where all cards had the exact same stats, Surgeon of Death's ability outright is just kind of meh. Because you have 4 cards you've got to try and beat on your enemy team, and you have 1 dedicated to lowering 1 card's attack by 10%. And more or less, there's a lot of more valuable abilities. So even at Secret, a card like that's just not really going to do anything for you. If there was more content for him to be able to possibly deal with, we'd say, yeah, it's probably better. But in my opinion, I'd probably put him somewhere in the D tier, because it's just not, the ability does not anything for anyone.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same. I actually have it in shit, which is, I guess, would be D. His ability isn't viable per se.
Yeah.
So
I'm not against the shit tier. I think I'm just more optimistic about, I kind of mentioned it earlier, not in the video of course, but that there was some content where you could use him to make the Eternal Dragon's health keep going up, but its damage was 0, so you could kind of farm out more points than was normal. And if anything like that ever becomes a thing again, his ability might actually be useful. But because it's not, that's why I said D. Because shit, if there was nothing like that ever happen, yeah, shit tier. Doesn't do anything for anybody. Just a little hope for him though.
yeah, I'll put him... Where's he at? Surgeon. I think I'll put him D for now, but chances are I'll probably bring him down later.
Yeah. He'll end up being close to certain other cards.
Yeah. What do we have next?
Alright, so Diamond Warrior is up next.
Okay.
So this is an interesting card. It's very interesting because when you look at card text, sometimes you want to say, that sounds pretty damn good. When we think about cards like Pain or Armor Giant and why they're strong, it's because you essentially get free turns to do things. This card on paper says, hey, every time I take a certain amount of damage, I'm going to get a free turn out of it. And that's a lot of tech. If it worked the way that you would expect, that's a lot of free turns. That's what is it, 20%? That's 5 free turns.
5 to, yeah.
But it doesn't work like that. You get 1 for, if you get hit for 80% of your health,
it's
you get
1
shield.
turn, yeah.
That's right. So in the tournament that we ran, I thought he would be a really good card for people to be able to use. Unfortunately, in the long run, his ability is just super inconsistent.
Yeah.
So I think that if anything, it's usable, because at the end of the day, at say Secret tier, if you're getting hit for 20% of your damage every time in the perfect circumstances, that's a really good ability. But in general, in practice, it just doesn't really hold up. I wouldn't say he's shit, and I wouldn't necessarily say he's D tier either, but because it's so inconsistent, I'd put it at C tier.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree with you. Initially, I thought it worked the way you explained the first time, where every 20% meant an additional turn. In testing, I realized that was not the case, so I had him at A and then brought him down to C. So C is fine with me.
Yeah. And that's funny that you say that, because I was even going to say, like, in the perfect situation, he'd probably be like A to S tier.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure,
So,
definitely.
yeah. All right. The next one is Nekcoma,
Okay.
which I'm even going to pull her up because this card is an interesting one. So she's like the big one of the full moon cards.
Yeah.
This is kind of a problem that I have with a lot of cards, which we'll talk about another one later from the Blue Moon set, and there's a few other cards that do this. They have too many things that they do. They are not bad things. Like for her, it's she heals herself for 10%. That's not terrible, right?
Yeah.
Decreasing. She basically has Law's thing, which is a minus 10% on the enemy, which we already talked about why that's really not that great. Or she gets the plus 10%, right? All these things alone are kind of weak to begin with. But at the end of the day, she's kind of a worse than Law, because
It's
you only have a
inconsistent.
chance.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'll even mention the card I was going to say, the Sinbad or the Seven Seas King.
Yeah,
He
same.
has all these cool abilities, but you're only going to get one, and you don't know which one you're going to get. It's like another one that's not part of this list is the Crazy Genius.
Yeah.
He has all these cool abilities. You don't know which one you're going to get. Why would I ever pick a card unless I was really trying? Like Crazy Genius is the only example. Unless I was really trying to have a Hail Mary win, why would I ever pick a card that has things that I can't account for?
Yeah,
And
I
she's the
absolutely
same
agree.
example.
When building a deck, it's, for me anyway, it's consistency. I don't want to have a chance where things don't turn out my way and that's the reason I lose. It just doesn't make sense.
If she had this ability, but the numbers were higher, like say 50% heal or 30% extra damage, and it stayed or something, or the 10% she gains it stays and just keeps compounding, right? Or the decrease on the enemy is 20%, something substantial.
Yeah.
But it's 3 random things. I would probably put her at B or A tier.
And that's exactly where I have it too.
But because you don't get to pick, and those other things aren't more valuable than what Law provides, she's either D tier or shit tier. Just
Yeah.
because, again,
The
too many
inconsistency.
variables. Yep.
Yeah.
I think she's safe for D tier, and
Yeah,
then as we
I'll
explore,
put it
she
in
can
D,
she can go down. But yeah, it's basically a downgrade from Law, because at least you know what you're getting with him.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Now that's full
next.
moon done.
Yep. Now these are some cool cards. Like there's two cards in here that I really like, and one that I just don't know what my opinion truly is on it. But the Harvest Moon, the first one up, I believe, is Lunar Angel, which that's going to be King from One Piece.
Yeah.
All right, let's type him in so I can read off his ability straight up. So, with him, he's got the Empowered Swing. Attacks have a 25% chance to deal bonus damage equal to 75% of this card's maximum health to the opponent. So, this is an interesting take for this card, because currently, if you were to have him at a pretty high border, we'll just pretend you had a secret Lunar Angel, right? He's actually pretty good. And the reason for that is because right now the meta is more or less using Fallen Knight to pass down a bunch of bonuses to your final card, which would be your recipient. If he was the recipient, doing extra damage equal to 75% of your max health, which every card's max health is higher than their damage, right?
Yeah.
That's actually an insane amount of damage. The only downside is that in this meta, when it's really only used for high floors on tower, and you just end up losing to something like Obito, or I don't even know what he's called in
Dimensional
in
Shifter.
the game. Dimensional Shifter. You'll die to that, or you'll die to Crimson Demon getting one shot with 5 times damage.
Yeah.
Because they don't have anything defensive added to this. So I like his ability, but because he doesn't have any extra defense. Like, he would be a perfect card if he had the same ability and it said something along the lines like, you know, heal for 20% max health, because you would have an incentive to make his health high and for him to live. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, it's like a B tier, because you're probably not going to get him at secret. But if we're pretending like you were like, man, this would be the best card in the game if I got him at secret, really it's more or less like a B tier.
Yeah, I had them at BC because I think that, like, everything you said completely valid, but it's also a case where it depends on the rarity of the card too. So if he's going against, let's say we only use teams based off basic cards, right? I
Yep.
still don't think he stands much of a chance against basic cards.
Yep.
But if you're going
Yep.
against, if he's at secret and you're going against maybe a gold or something, then it's definitely going to be a lot more valid there. So
Yep.
I don't know. Which one is he
I
though?
think I think B or C is still good. The only reason I say B is because he has a little bit more interplay with the current meta of the Fallen Knight stuff. You're not going to find him on, you know, you're probably
Yeah,
not pulling
probably not.
during a
Yeah,
Harvest Moon. So
I'll put him
C
high
tier is
C.
still fine.
Yeah, I'll put him high
That's
C.
good. All right. Let's see. So this next card, I think, is a fantastic card. If I could roll during a Harvest Moon and not feel guilty about it, I would be rolling for him and the next one. So the Sunblaze Shinigami, which
Yeah,
is Yamamoto from Bleach. His ability is genuinely very, very potent. In fact, this is one of those abilities where it felt like in the tournament, if he was allowed, that it would have been extremely popular. So his ability is Incinerate. When defeated, permanently apply red flames to all party members, which deal 5% max health if the card is active, or 2.5% if they are not active. I will admit, have not done testing with this. I'd like to imagine this is every attack, not just every turn, but every attack
yeah, it's every
that
attack.
happened
It's every attack.
that this will happen. This is essentially old what's his name? Old Flame Emperor. But it doesn't require him to be alive for it to
Yeah,
activate. And so for competitive environments, this is an extremely potent card, because you can pair this with things like the Pale Ghost. I want to say that's his name. Pale Ghost is the Madara. You can pair it with a Deranged Clown, any card for that matter that can take some extra turns away from your opponent. We would call this a stall team. It's kind of like Pokemon, where like
yeah,
you,
to
you
see who
try to
lasts the longest.
exactly. In this case, his ability is really cool. Obviously, a really cool character too. And burns are always going to be, currently at least, as long as nothing changes, burns are always going to be some of the most potent abilities in the game. We'll talk about Flame Deity later as to why
Yeah,
that's the case. But if anyone remembers old Flame Emperor, Sunblaze Shinigami is very similar. So in my opinion, he's A tier, but there could, if there's ever content where it would call for it, I
he
would
could be
definitely put
S.
him in S. Yeah,
Yeah, I have him at A as well.
that's
Okay, so
excellent, excellent.
okay.
All right. So the next card, I love this card. This is I think a lot of people may have had the same experience as me. But when I first started, and this was before luck servers were much more common, the changes to where luck servers had, if you refreshed it at 1 minute, the whole 2 hours was given back
Yeah,
to
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Instead, it was every 30 minutes. Like, luck servers weren't as common, and it was only 20 luck back then, right? So we didn't see people just waiting out for Tsukuyomi Moon and then pulling only on that. Like, a lot of new players were actually just pulling cards. I was one of them. The Love Hashira was a card that carried me through a lot of the story, because if you get her strong enough, she's able to bypass a lot of things. Like, it's the ability Ribbon Slash, which is randomly slashes 3 to 5 times, dealing 30% damage per slash, and then it has that little bleed at the end. It's not necessarily worth mentioning, but there's a lot of free damage that you get, and a lot of the time that matters. Not only that, but in some cases, and I don't know if she's one of them, but certain ability damage is coded in a way that it bypasses certain skills. To kind of put that into perspective, Deranged Clown is a good example. He does the bungee gum, he's supposed to block the damage. Beast Giant, when he attacks Deranged Clown, it'll block his attack, but the rocks that are thrown do not get blocked. So Love Hashira might be one of those cases, but regardless, the fact that she hits multiple times is really good, because any card that hits multiple times and is strong enough will bypass things like Slayer Mark, it'll bypass things like Limitless, it will take multiple hits off of a Slime Coat. Just overall very, very strong ability. Obviously, she is a low moon card, so she doesn't have the craziest stats. But if we're talking about your rainbow or your, because even at gold, it's like 3k damage and almost 7k health, right? Which isn't terrible. But if we're talking about your rainbow or your secret Love Hashira, in my opinion, that ability is very strong. It's nothing that's game changing, so I wouldn't put it any higher than A tier. But she's definitely one of my favorite cards, and I very fondly remember using her in the early game because it's just the extra hits are very potent.
Yeah, I mean, I have it at A for all the exact same reasons you said. I mean, you said that the bleed isn't significant, but it just adds to the fact that on top of everything that it does do, there's more that it can do if it does proc. So, yeah, I must agree. A for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. I like stuff like that. There's not a lot of cards that have that, where their initial ability is already pretty good, and they
And
just
there's
have
an
a little
addition.
extra.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's not like the little extra is stunning a whole team for 2 turns, you know, like a certain card we know
Yeah.
that just enters the field, and hey, guess what? You're stunned forever. So, all right. So that's on with her. We move on to the next moon, which is Snow Moon. So arguably these are the first 2 cards are cards that I've never considered competitively, but it's definitely going to be interesting to talk about their abilities. So let me see what his name. Ice Dragon, is that it? Is that his name? Ice Dragon.
Yeah, Ice Dragon.
Yeah. Ice Dragon. Yep. So Ice Wings applies permafrost after landing a successful attack on an opponent, which is a 50% chance every turn to freeze the opponent for 1 turn before they attack. So if we were going to talk about freezes in the game versus stuns, freezes are more potent than stuns because they, like old stuns before the change, disable the opponent's ability. If you're frozen and die, as a revive unit, you will not revive.
Yeah.
You die. That's it. If you have an ability that I can't even think of any examples, but if you have an ability that triggers during combat, not at the beginning, like right when you come in, but triggers during combat for any reason, and you're frozen, it doesn't happen anymore. So freezes are really strong. I don't know how this works, because this sounds like if he attacks you and he dies, that you still keep the permafrost. Similar to how Awakened Frost Demon applies like a pain-esque freeze, in which there's always a 65% chance that the whole team will be frozen if they attack. So in this case, in a competitive environment, if we were talking about like all stats the same, or you had like a Rainbow Secret version of this, in a 1v1, this card is very strong because freezes are really strong. A 50% chance to be frozen is very strong. It's honestly, in a duel situation where you're just having a strong card fighting a strong card, this is a very desirable ability. Because it's more about 1v1 stuff, I would put him at B tier or A tier, because it's not like Naruto, who, when Naruto awakened Promised Child,
he's broken, bro.
Yeah, when he attacks, I don't even know if it's 50%, because it doesn't say one or the other at 50%, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to pretend 50% chance when Naruto attacks, you're going to get stunned. You lose your turn, he attacks you, you're going to get stunned.
Yeah.
He attacks you, you're going to get stunned. It's not like that, because it has to be applied to you first, and that still gives you the opportunity to
fight back.
At least have some, at least a little bit. But at the end of the day, that is a desirable ability. It's very potent. If there was any bit extra to it, I definitely would put it higher. But A or B tier is really what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I have it in B, but just to clarify, it says after every turn, or does it just say after he dies? I don't remember.
it says, so the way that it reads, it says after he lands a successful attack on an opponent.
So that's after
Which has
that makes it, yeah. Because if
the way that
after
it
every
reads makes
time
it
he attacks, he has a 50% chance, then it can happen multiple times per match.
well, in this specific instance, the way that this one works is it sounds like, I'll read it one more time over, but then I'll kind of talk about how it works, or on text how it works.
Okay.
Applies permafrost after landing a successful attack on an opponent, which is talking about which means permafrost, has a 50% chance every turn to freeze the opponent for 1 turn before they attack. So the way that that would work is if he hits you, and only if I'm assuming he has to actually do the damage.
Yeah, he does.
I don't know. So if he hits you, then now every time you attack, you have a 50% chance to be frozen before you attack.
Okay. So it's not like a okay.
Yeah, and that sounds like it stays on the card he attacked, but if he dies, your next card isn't gonna, if the opponent dies and he's not up, like it doesn't apply to the whole party.
Yeah,
it sounds like
it's
it only
just
applies
one,
to who
yeah.
he hits.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put him on high B.
Okay, I think that's fair for him. Honestly, there's an opportunity that's actually a very strong card, but you're just not. It's very difficult to say because you're just not gonna see. You're not gonna see a secret version of him. People aren't gonna pull on these yet. I feel like eventually we're gonna be incentivized to pull on earlier moons, but for now there is not necessarily a reason to.
Unless you're a collector, like me, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I want to have every card, right? So I will
yes.
eventually, but obviously going to focus on the better moons first, and then you go down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm the same way as you. I'm the same mindset, but I'm in that same boat right now. It's like I want the higher ones first
Yeah,
because
for
that's
sure.
going to give me more return on my investment.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the next one is Snake Empress, so Boa Hancock from One Piece. We'll go ahead and open up the deck. Boa. Oh, whoops, that's not how I do it. Snake Empress. So her ability, every time this card is attacked, gain a charge. Add 3 charges, heal for 40% max health, and freeze the opponent for 2 turns. So here's the issue with cards like this. And I think this should be considered when it comes to changing any card that's like this, if the devs ever want to do something. A 3-turn investment is too much. 40% max health does sound kind of good, but 3 turns of having to attack in order to gain that is
Excessive.
it feels excessive, and usually you don't get that far. And if you do, you probably were going to beat your opponent anyway.
Yeah.
Her ability to me sounds like the most appropriate and well thought out, well balanced ability you could think of. But the problem is this game does not exist in a vacuum. You're not going to be able to probably attack for 3 times, and if you do, the 2 freezes that you're going to get, they're probably dead.
Yeah.
The 2 freezes don't matter. If it went on to the next cards, then I'd say, oh hell yeah, this girl might actually be a bit better. But the problem is it doesn't. You're going to freeze your opponent for 2 turns after attacking them 3 times. They're probably already dead.
Yeah.
And if they're not, they are probably strong enough where you never even got the chance to attack 3 times. If 3 of your attacks don't kill them, then 1 of their attacks can probably kill
yeah,
them.
for sure. That's what I was about to say. It's a case where most cards don't last 3 turns, bro. That's not happening.
Yeah, the stat disparity that is required for this card to work is probably extremely niche or doesn't exist at all.
Yeah, I must agree.
So the only time I can see this being good is like in a tournament setting. Like I set certain rules, there's certain cards that weren't allowed. Like she would be good in a tournament setting where there are certain rules allowed, because you're going to see things like Deranged Clown, and she's going to get that opportunity to attack 3 times as long as, you're going to probably be able to work with her better. That doesn't exist right now. So the way that I see this, her ability basically doesn't exist. And so I would put that in D tier or shit tier, because she's never going to get the opportunity to use it.
Yeah, I have it in shit myself. So
it's what makes me so upset about that is what I said before. It looks like the most well thought out, well balanced card. Like I have a feeling that whoever made the card was like they were really, really thinking about it. It just doesn't work in this game.
it doesn't. Yeah. Maybe in the early
Alright,
game
so-
it made sense, but right now it definitely doesn't make sense.
All right, so moving on to the next one is one of my favorite cards, is the White Dragon Emperor. So when I first started this game, very similar to Love Hashira, this is one of those cards that when I had it, I was just like, I wanted Red Dragon Emperor really bad because of it. Because in my opinion, causing an enemy to lose 15% damage every turn, honestly, pretty decent. You know, no matter who you're fighting up against, as long as your stats are relatively similar, that's a pretty strong advantage. And not only that, but if you're running Red Dragon Emperor, him getting 15% damage every turn, also pretty decent. So this ability, much like the Trafalgar, sorry, I'll also call him by his other name, much like Surgeon of Death, there's very niche situations where this was probably going to be viable. However, on a competitive field where like you have a gold or a rainbow or a secret, and you're fighting other gold rainbow secrets, this ability is actually pretty good. It's a good scale tipper. You would be able to pair this with like red-haired Emperor, I think, or maybe it's just Red Emperor, which is Shanks from One Piece, and you would probably get a lot of return out of that in a competitive sense. So in my opinion, I think it's a great ability only when it's paired with Red Emperor.
That's the
and
thing,
I would
though.
put it, I would put it at A or B tier. It's very hard to say.
I'd put it at A if they're paired up, but if they're not, I'll put it at B. So I'm gonna put him at B.
I wouldn't even. I think that might not necessarily be the case. I think that if they're not paired up, he's worse than Law because it's 5% instead of 10%. So, but I think B is completely fine because there's that middle ground, right? But it's definitely, he's either A tier with what's his name, with Red Emperor, or he's essentially probably even shit tier. 5% is nothing.
That's true. Fair.
All right, but I think that's I don't think that's too bad for him. All right. For the next moon, we're going to the moons that start giving you luck whenever you're on them. So we've got Blood Moon, and we've got Power, or in this case it's Blood Fiend. So let's pull her up. So this is a card that I forget exists sometimes, but when I was looking at it for the tournament, I realized, holy crap, her ability is actually pretty strong. So there's a 50% chance for this card to deal an extra 30% damage in exchange for 15% max healthy time. Cards that kill themselves aren't that big of a deal. Cards that hurt themselves to do damage, to do extra stuff aren't that bad, as long as it's not something like Crazy Genius, who basically completely eliminates himself for his ability. So in her case, an extra 30% damage every attack, that's not too bad. It's nothing to write home about, but it's honestly not too bad. And in the tournament setting, in certain rule sets, if this ever comes to like live and they do stuff where the ranked is very competitive, this is honestly a good ability, because getting extra damage without a lot of setup is very strong in those cases. But because that's not a thing, she's just okay. I would put her at either B or C tier.
Yeah. Okay. About NB.
Well, what were your thoughts on her?
Well, I have at C, but because for me it's a case where, I mean, yeah, getting damage is good, but to damage yourself, I don't think it's worth, especially when you have a lot more cards that you can use in place of her. So that's why I had at C. But I don't think B is bad either. So I think we can meet in the middle and put at the end of B.
I think that if we consider the fact that King is in C tier, but he has an ability that is technically stronger than hers at a slightly lower, at a half the rate, I think that she could easily go C tier. But there is one consideration I want to put in there. So you know the support card Sealed Cube, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Supposedly, Sealed Cube will also work when you hurt yourself. So if you have an ability... Yep, so like Killua or Deranged Assassin, he hurts himself on his second attack. Sealed Cube will go off. Now, Sealed Cube reads, it's the first attack that they take. I don't know if Sealed Cube will continue to go off over and over again or what, but I do know that someone has said that Sealed Cube will activate if
you damage yourself.
if you damage yourself. So maybe a little bit interesting play with her. But in my opinion, I wouldn't be against her going down to C tier because she's very comparable to King, and she doesn't have an ability like God, I want to be able to say his name from Bleach, but I'm drawing a blank. But we'll just call him Ice Dragon. Yep, like Ice Dragon.
Yeah, okay. So, fair. That's why I wanted to put it anyway.
Next one on the list is Crimson Empress. So this is a really cool ability. This is one of the cooler abilities in the game, similar to it's another Emperor card, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But it's Lelouch. He does something very similar where he causes you to attack yourself. In this case, let's read her ability. Has a 40% chance to possess the opponent after being attacked, causing the opponent to attack a random card in their party for 60% of their damage. So this isn't like the craziest, strongest ability, but something that's really potent is being able to hurt your enemy cards when they're not even out on the field.
Yes.
So I've always appreciated that. The only thing is that I would have liked to run some testing on her to see if this also blocks the attack from her. So this says that after being attacked. So I don't know if that's saying she will take the damage and then it like,
triggers. Oh, yeah.
And then they're gonna attack their party member, or if it's like a null situation where it'll. Oh, that's different. No, null isn't a good example.
Yeah, no.
Shadow Duelist. Shadow Duelist is the example. So, but his card text reads that it's a chance to redirect the damage. Hers says she gets attacked and then possesses. So, if it is that it would block for her, her ability would be way higher up. But if it is the instance in which she has to take the damage and then they hurt, it's really kind of mid because she's dying in order to cause this to happen.
Yeah.
And you can mitigate this a little bit with Healing Fist or putting, what's it called on her, Slime Coat, which is not called Slime Coat, that's the ability name of it, but the Slime Coat on her, or giving her Shinobi Cells, right? But that's a lot of ifs. And so, in my opinion, if it is as reads, we might be low B tier, high C tier.
Yeah,
but if it is
I'll
that
give
it blocks,
I'll give it high C because I think it's based on, it takes the damage and then I don't think it mitigates the damage.
Yeah, if it mitigated the damage, she'd be probably high A or S tier because it's very similar to Null. The only difference here is that Null is getting stronger, and and Obito. No, Obito doesn't absorb it, but Obito, we'll talk about that later. Very good card. All right, so
I think all the new cards are pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because I love that they can be paired together. That was obviously a very good thing on there. All right, we can kind of skip over this next card pretty quickly because he's going to go pretty much just slightly above wherever White Dragon Emperor is. So Red Dragon Emperor, he's gaining damage every turn.
Yeah.
So the reason why he's technically better than White Dragon Emperor is because that damage that he's gaining can be passed down to other units with Fallen Knight. And that's an extremely powerful thing to do. We call those boosters or multipliers. In Pokemon, this would be something like called a baton passer. Essentially what this is that you use Fallen Knight on someone who's boosting their damage or damage given to them and multiplying that up, right, 50% every time. And then when they die, they pass that to the next card with Fallen Knight. Yeah. The White Dragon Emperor doesn't have that option. He's just making your enemy weaker, which is good for anti-Fallen Knight gameplay. But we're not at that stage of the game.
Yeah,
People
absolutely not. The point of the game we're at right now is you try to build your numbers and then you hit. That's it.
Yep. So, but Red Dragon Emperor would be better. He's either high B tier or low A tier.
Yeah.
Well, I'd keep him in A.
Yeah, low A for sure.
Okay. And that could, maybe a secret Red Dragon Emperor would be insane with Fallen Knight.
Definitely, bro. Nah, he would be.
So, alright, so next is, like, everyone knows this card at this point because even new players who wanted to do the global boss, like, everyone tries to find information and everyone's figured it out at this point. So Wolf Moon, introductory card, we got Flame Deity. Yeah. I'll read the ability, but I think everyone kind of knows what this card does. Applies a permanent burn to the opponent on entry, dealing 10% maximum health. Every time an opponent burns, this card gains a stack. At 5 stacks against the player, executes the opponent. Which, again, I don't know why it says against the player. This specifically is a really weirdly red card, but it only does damage to a single card.
Yeah, only
and
one.
it's very good for 1v1s. But when you look at Sky Emperor, he is so good for fighting Sky Emperor. He is so good for like very budget decks for fighting Eternal Dragon.
Yeah.
So long as there is content in the game, and as long as this isn't changed, of course, so long as there's content in the game that requires you to fight one card, one strong card, burns, especially a burn like this, is invaluable. It is too strong. The fact also of the matter is that if you have multiple flame deities, the abilities compound. You can have
Yeah.
multiple red pilots. Red pilot will boost 15% per red pilot. Red flame deity is the same way. It's going to be his burn over and over again. And even if it's a different flame deity's burn, he will execute it. He will execute the card.
Yeah.
So long as there are these bosses, and this is the way the game is coded to work, he's SS tier because they're
Yeah.
until it's changed. If they keep it the way it is, he will always be SS tier because he will always be the best budget card for single enemies.
Yeah. And yeah, that's exactly the thought process I had in ranking. I think if it's just like in a 1v1 situation and that's the only card you have, I'd put him B. But because of the in-game content, I think it's S+.
Yep. And that's what people want. They want more card packs, or they want the Sky King drum, or they want to farm out Eternal Dragon, which for like 47 years or whatever it is to get the secret, Eternal Dragon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but at the end of the day, if they make a new global boss, if it works there, he's going to be valuable.
Yeah,
So,
that's the thing. I don't think they'll like change it. I think he'll always be valuable.
I'm not necessarily the same mind, but only because Fire Force has been teased, and I'd like to imagine if they're gonna make more fire/burn cards, they're probably going to view how that mechanic works, and they might change it. But not gonna get my hopes up. Yeah, for now, he is just with the way the game is now. Perfect SS tier. I think is exactly where he belongs because he is very valuable for at least 2 forms of content. All right. So the next one is Dragon King. This is a very interesting card because it's very nuanced. Like, I don't know exactly what to say about his ranking, but I can at least talk about the ability, right? So Dragon King's Roar, he, after attacking, has a 30% chance to confuse an opponent for 3 turns, causing them to damage themselves for 15% of the damage they deal. Note, can only apply 1 stack of confusion at a time. So the thing is, though, is this is essentially a 30% chance to... Wait, hold on a moment. Just so that way I can get this clear, because I'm pretty sure this is how it works. When they are confused, they're going to be confused for 3 turns, meaning they're not even going to hit you for 3 turns, right?
Yeah, they can't do anything for free. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, no, so this is busted. This is a super busted. Yeah, so, the thing is, it's 30% chance. Isn't that great? But for the same reason that Boa Hancock or Snake Empress is shit tier, this ability is like godly amazing. I can't say SS tier because SS tier is very particularly strong. But if you and your opponent are running similar decks of similar strengths, this card's ability, if it goes off, is so insanely powerful. 3 turns for free, you're gonna die. You're gonna die in those 3 turns. So the only thing it's doing is helping you kill them. It's not
exceptional, but it's a pretty good ability.
It is. I would put it at either high A or S tier because, again, in a 1v1 situation or even 4v4, when this card attacks, having 3 turns of your enemy doing nothing but hurting themselves is insane. And not only that, let's just pretend that the attack... It can't work like that. I was going to say if Kaido dies and then they're confused for 3 turns, you have 3 turns of setup in the next card, but Kaido technically, without burn, can't die while they're confused. So, but I'd still put it at either high A or low S tier because, again, that's an extremely strong combat ability. That's like being frozen. That's like being frozen 3 turns in a row, essentially.
Yeah. Initially, I had him at S, but the 30% has me iffy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So I'll do
That's
high
why I
A.
said high A.
Yeah.
That's why I said high A. It's because 30% is not that great. When we talk about like later when we get to null, he was nerfed where originally he'd be really high, but the percentages on some of these abilities are what caused them to not be as good as they
Yeah.
once were. All right, so Dragon King. Next is Final Shinigami. So we've got the end of Aizen arc Ichigo here. So Final Shinigami. Revive this card to 20% HP after death. Every ally defeated will give this card an additional 20% HP when it revives. This is just a revive card. That's all it is, and it's a revive card that's not even as strong as Eren or Muzan, because those cards heal to full
And
and
they
gain
do extra
additional.
stuff too, so it's not just reviving.
Is it a really badass looking card?
Yeah.
Yes. Can his stats be pretty decent bordered? Yes. Is it better than alternative options that you can get pretty easy?
No.
No. Because it's a revive card, I'd say C tier. Just revive cards are decent. They're gonna come back and fight again. That's free turns, and not only that, but revive cards, stalling out a duel with a revive card is pretty okay. So I'd put him at C tier. There's a possibility he belongs in D tier too, but I'd say C tier because revive cards, that's all he does, and he's not even as good as some of the other revive cards in the game.
Yeah, I have him as C as well. And the thing is, his ability is based on his placement. So if he's number 1, it's only 20%. But if he's number 4, he revives the max. So
Number 4 would put him at 80%.
80%. I mean, yeah, my bad. Put him at.
Yeah, I think that being in front of being really close to the Diamond Warrior is ironic or funny, because those are actually very similar abilities, because one they deal with 20%, but it's like he dies, he heals up a certain number of 20%. This guy, it's like every 20%.
Yeah.
He'll get a shield. Yeah. All right, so that's it for what's it called?
Wolf Moon.
Hopefully, let's look forward to a Ichigo buff on that one, because that is not that great. All right, so Blue Moon. Now these are some of the coolest cards, I think, because for a while 2 of them had no ability, and the other one that does have an ability has the only ability of its kind. The only one. It is so interesting. But there's a caveat to that, and it kind of sucks. So we're going to go with White Panther, and that's going to be Grimjow, right? So when below 75% max health, transform into Empowered Beast, increases stats by 50%. Ultimately, just a good ability, and it plays into the Fallen Knight meta. He's honestly just a decent card because you're going to get 50% extra stats, meaning health and damage, and you can pass that down to the next enemy, the next person. On top of that, at 75%, he doesn't have to die to get these stats. One of the big problems with revive cards is, I would like to hope this would change because it doesn't seem intentional.
Yeah.
But some abilities will bypass it. Like I was saying earlier, some abilities bypass revive cards. If Beast Titan attacks your Muzan and the rocks are what kills Muzan, guess what? He's dying. He's not reviving.
Yeah.
If you have Eren and you get killed by the support card it's not called Ultimate Uzumaki, that's the actual ability. Let me look at what it's called. Sacred Art Uzumaki, Maximum Uzumaki is also the ability name. But anyway, Sacred Art Uzumaki, Eren dies, doesn't come back to life. That's the way that some abilities are coded. Grimjow, on the other hand, he gets his boost while alive. And I think that's honestly a very strong thing, and having 50% extra health and 50% extra damage is a great boost to pass down. Are you probably going to be pulling Secret or Rainbow Grimjow on purpose? No. But in the current climate of the game, if you did have him, it's very solid. I would put him up there with the A's. I would put him above even I'd put him above Red Dragon Emperor and probably above Love Hashira too.
Yeah, I agree. I have him A as well, and I do think he has more potential than Love Hashira. So we're in agreement, huh?
The next one after him is the Stone Hashira. This card right here is so hard for me to talk about, because when we think about Pain and why he's getting nerfed, but 2, why he's so frustrating to deal with. Or Awakened Frost Demon is a good second. The freeze, 65% chance for you to be frozen. To be able to get rid of those things would be fantastic. There is nothing like that in the game currently. Even in this card, which reads, whenever attacked, whoops, I actually have to change my, I thought it said whenever he attacks. I have to redact what I just said. So this is actually much better than I was thinking. So whenever attacked, this card has a 40% chance to transfer any present burn, stun, or skill disable effects to the enemy.
Yeah.
Very, very decent card. This is more or less when we're talking about like cards 1v1, like Kaido, for instance, the Dragon Emperor. It's good in a 1v1. It's good that he gets to do that. Stone Hashira, it's a great ability to have, because if they had a pain or they freeze you or whatever, you have a chance to put that on the enemy, which is good.
Yeah.
And also take it off yourself. At a 40% chance, I don't think it's that great.
Yeah, that's
And
the
then
issue with me though. I don't like the percentage.
Yeah, if it was 80, if it was, we'll even say like 65%. Let's just keep it in line with the ability that the demon has, where it's 65% chance to freeze. 65% chance to put it back on the enemy, even that's looking not nearly as good, because you have to take damage in order to have that happen. And it's one of those things. Can I account for what this guy is going to be subject to? Can I know that he's going to get stunned?
Yeah.
Can I know that he's going to, you know what I mean? And not only that, I'm really curious to know, in the game there's something called priority, or I'm going to coin it priority. It's the list in which things go off. So first turn, it's like your ability, your enemy's ability, your attack, their attack. Like the turn in which things, the order in which things go off. If Awakened Promised Child attacks Stone Hashira, does the stun go off after the attack, or does the stun go off before the attack? Because if it goes off after the attack, Stone Hashira is useless. He can't get rid of the stun because he's already been attacked.
Yeah.
So that's where this has just got too many variables where I feel like I can't account for the viability of this actually working. If this was, if I would without question, this 100%, if he gets hit, any stun effect that would happen is going to be transferred. Like, I'd say this is a fantastic ability. If anything, it's amazing that it's even in the game, because there's nothing else like it. But I just don't know that at 40%, and at the current game climate, I just don't think that he's that crazy. I would put him at C tier. I want him to be better, but I cannot see it being any better than that.
Yeah. Thinking the same way. I think potentially he could be good, but too many factors and variables are required for him to be good. So
It's definitely a card that requires extensive testing, because
yeah.
it could be completely wrong, that maybe it works on everything, and if it does, still 40% isn't that great. I would only be able to move him up to like B tier if it worked on like Awakened Promised Child and turn priority and all that jazz. So, but I talk so much about it because, in my opinion, I want more cards like that. I want a support card that says my card is immune to stuns or freezes or whatever. You know, I sacrifice the extra damage. I sacrifice the ability to turn off the enemy's ability, so that way I can do what I want to do.
Yeah. Especially in a meta where stun is so prominent.
Yes, and he's the first glance into that. So, all right. So last card of the Blue Moons is the 7 Sea King. So we've got Sinbad. It's interesting that they included a Magi card, or Magi card.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I love that show, but the fact that it didn't continue after, you know, whatever ended in the anime, it's been so long too, I don't even remember what happened. Very cool guy though. All right, so King's Vessel selects a form after defeating each enemy. Ice form, 40% chance to freeze enemies for 2 turns. 50% chance to deal lightning form, 50% chance to deal 50% more damage, and dodge, dark form, 40% chance to dodge an attack. So unlike Boa Hancock, all of this is what I was talking about with, not Boa Hancock, I'm so sorry, with Nekcoma. All of these abilities are strong in some way, form, or fashion. But because I don't know what I'm going to get, I just don't like it as much. Regardless, though, even if I can't account for what I'm going to get, still strong. If, in my opinion, Ice form and Dark form are desirable, whereas Lightning form is like, that's okay. That's a, you know, doing 50% more damage, that's fine. Oh, who cares? But freezing and dodging, getting yourself more turns, is an extremely strong ability. So he's got good stats, especially when you start getting them bordered and all that good stuff. So, and the percentages are high, which is what is extremely important in something like this. So, in my opinion, he is a very strong card. I would put him at the bare minimum. He's either above Grimjow or he's above Love Hashira.
Yeah, I'll put him above Love Hashira. Good card, it could be better. I still don't like the fact that there are so many options and you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah,
And that kind of
at least
throws it off.
Yeah, at least in his case, it's so difficult to talk about. But at least in his case, you know that every time he kills someone, you're gonna switch forms. Like, you know, there's a 1/2 chance after he kills one person, you're gonna get one of the other forms, right? So,
and all the forms aren't bad. I just don't like the inconsistency.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so that deals with Sinbad. And now we're gonna talk about possibly the oh wait, no, I'm sorry, there was already an SS tier, but the best SS tier is Cosmic Villain. We're gonna talk about,
no question. What?
We're gonna be talking about Garo. There's so many reasons why this is strong. I think a lot of players can put that together. Obviously we get to the part where the moons start getting some ridiculous stats. So for basic players who like manage to pull these cards, these are very good starter cards. All of them are very good starter cards. But Cosmic Villain is in a very special situation because unlike other cards that might utilize, like, we'll say for instance Forest Sage or Eminent Scout, where they boost your card's damage, he's not boosting your card's damage by a percentage of their own current stats. He is giving you a flat boost to what becomes essentially base stats for your card. And if you can kind of put together what I've talked about with Fallen Knight previously, you can imagine why this guy is extremely strong, even if there's no Fallen Knight. Any card like Eminence Cat, Muzan. No, Muzan gains health, but he's the worst of the recipients. But Muzan or Combat Giant, which is Aaron. Any card, or Grimjow, we just got done talking about him.
Yeah, Grimjow for sure.
Any card that boosts their stats are going to, on top of that, boost the stat that Garo gave them as well. That is why he is so strong. Because without Fallen Knight, your booster cards, your recipients, they're able to multiply that. Eminence Cat is crazy when paired with Garo. You can go Eminence Cat to Eminence Scouts and just look at the numbers. It can be a basic Eminence Cat for all I care. Just look at the numbers.
I've done a video on it. It's pretty busted.
Yep. So, but with Fallen Knight, it becomes a chain. When he's first, he's going to pass down his stat to the next card. The next card's going to get whatever amount that he gave, and they're going to boost that. 15% of that is going to get brought down, and then brought down to the final card. It becomes a chain. It is why currently I believe the meta is Fallen Knight. Galaxy Hero is old news because Fallen Knight beats it out.
They nerfed Galaxy, so.
Yep. And not by too much, but yeah, Galaxy is just not nearly as strong as it was. And it doesn't work like you hope it does. If every card in the party got the extra 40%, it's actually 46%, so the card text is wrong, just gonna throw that out there, but if every card in the party got 40%, Galaxy would be very strong.
Yeah, but
it's not. It's 10, 20, 30, and then the fourth card gets 46.5% or something like that. So, alright, so enough glazing Garo. Obviously, it's a fantastic card. I heard through the grapevine that could be nerfed. I would hate to see that happen.
Why nerf it, bro? There's no reason to.
I'm gonna introduce a concept here that I've seen happen in many different games, and it's popular equals bad. Everyone's using him. He's a really great card to have. Well, I wouldn't necessarily want that to be the content of the game because I want people to use a bunch of different cards. So that's why he might get nerfed. Alternatively, if the game developer's idea of the game is I don't want my cards to get that strong that easily, then that's fine. But in my opinion, that requires you to reach out to your players or have an open forum to say, hey guys, listen, we're going to be nerfing this card because this just doesn't go in line with our game philosophy. We believe that he's giving too much power to cards or to other cards, and we want people to choose different cards. We're obviously going to balance the gameplay around not having Garo, and we want people to have fun without him, right? He's still usable, but we just don't want him to be the king of everything. Being open about that is a fantastic thing, but just nerf it. Like the armor, I'm gonna bring it up now just to be on a little bit of a box. But the armor giant nerf was completely unjustified when Pain exists the way that he exists.
I agree,
armor
bro.
Armor giant doesn't even get his own shield. It's just like, why did you do that? It would be one thing if they would have said, listen, we're nerfing armor giant for these reasons. At least we were talking about it. But to just do it and say, yep, that's it. Why?
Yeah, I mean,
So-
there's two things I noticed with this game. The game, I love the game, right? But it's a case where the devs
absolutely.
they do what they want and they don't necessarily care about other people's opinions. For one, with regarding to card nerfing, and two, I feel like they're going to kill the game, not necessarily because of the nerfing, but because of the time they take to put out content. And instead of working on new stuff, they ruin the stuff that's already in the game. I don't think that makes any sense to me.
Yeah, so I'm going to comment on two different things there. I definitely am big about the nerfs and changing things that are already in the game and not understanding why they did it, right? So we could talk about Potion Tower. If they
Oh
had
my
made a
bro!
Yeah,
Okay,
of
let me
course.
calm down. Let me.
So the thing is that the Potion Tower change makes sense if you outright come out and say, hey, listen, Potion Tower made Hardcore Tower dead content. We
Facts.
didn't want that. We didn't want that. So we are now dialing back Potion Tower, which should have probably, one, should have accompanied them saying that, right? But should have been accompanied by a slight buff to Hardcore Tower, giving them the 50 card pack at floor 1,
Yeah.
the way that Potion Tower had it. And that way, it's like, hey, you guys get to keep what you were saying, but you can see this is our design philosophy. Here it is. But just changing things, not saying anything, and it being technically worse than before, and not understanding it, that does suck. On the second part, when we're talking about taking a long time for updates, this is one thing that I will say, because I asked this question directly in the general chat, and I got an answer for it, and I figured that this would be the case. So when you're making a game and you're coming out with a big update, which they have been teasing an update for a long time, update 3.0, we're going to probably have Overlord cards for Fire Force, we're probably deeper into the Naruto verse, because for some reason they love Naruto. There are so many Naruto
If
cards,
we have Overlord
and Pain
cards,
is as
bro,
strong as he is.
I'm gonna be happy as shit. Just saying.
Yeah, there was a sneak peek of the eye of, it's called Necromancer Graveyard. There's a sneak. I'll send that to you after this, actually, because I'll show you the 2 sneak peeks so you can see them. You can even use them in the video. It's up to you what you want to do. But the thing is that they have this big update. If I asked, hey, is the reason why we don't see tiny updates, like say for instance lucky blocks being fixed or daily quests being fixed, is the reason why we don't see tiny updates like that because it would mess with the code of the big update? And I was told, yes, that is the case. And it makes sense. It makes sense that if you make a change here and now, outside of what you're already doing in your big update, when the big update comes, we're going to have another quality of life update.
Yeah, you'll need to
where
fix
it released. Yeah, it comes out and everyone's just pissed off. It's all broken. You got to give them a little grace, but I'm also still going to ride them a little bit, because you also have to talk to your players. You have to do more than just randomly respond to people in the general chat. You have a Discord. You have channels. Talk to people. You don't even have to let them respond to you.
Yeah, just say
make
something.
little memos.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm nerfing this card. This card is getting nerfed for this reason. Potion Tower is getting changed for this reason. We want to update things like Lucky Blocks and Daily Quests. It is on our radar. It's in update 3.0. We can't release it now because it would mess with the code. Things like that, because right now the way the state of the game is in, what will kill it more than anything outside of inflating luck and all that stuff,
Yeah.
what's going to kill it is players are going to get upset with you, and you're going to continue to do things that upset them, and they're going to be like, the second that another game that interests them like this one comes along, and
They're gonna move
if
on.
they don't have
Yeah.
they are going to move on. So it's a great game. There's so much potential. I really enjoy this game. I would personally, above everything else, want to see more communication.
Yeah.
More than anything else, because I can wait for an eternity if I know why I'm waiting for an eternity.
Yeah. Let me say one more thing though before we move on.
Regarding the lengths of the updates, I mean, great that we're having a huge update, but again, Roblox is super fast paced, right?
Yeah.
Now, as much as you
Yes.
want to execute something that's amazing in 4 months, realistically, people aren't going to wait 4 months for one update. That's outlandish. So I just think that they need to work on the update schedule a bit so that the game doesn't absolutely plummet.
The good thing is I do think that that's what they're doing. I want to say that I saw correspondence from them that says like after this update we are going to be trying to make it where it's like bi-weekly updates or something like
Yeah,
that.
that-
So
yeah,
I'm
that's
hoping
fine.
that that's true. So, all right. If you're ready, I'm ready to move on.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I went off on a tangent there, but,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of things going on in the game. It's good to be able to talk to somebody about them in an open sense. So.
Yeah, for sure, bro.
All right, so Soul King, he in his prime was quite a bit better. It was 25% to 75% of the enemy's stats before. Now it is 15 to 65. So not really that crazy. But Soul King is what I would call a carry card, and this is a card that does something that's very good, but it also heals itself. So after defeating an enemy to randomly absorb 15% to 65% of their maximum health and damage. So this card, when used in the right team comp, would allow you to push for high floors. We can rewind time a little bit and talk about Pirate Tower. Back then, Soul King was one of the best carry cards. Always recommend Soul King. If you had it up to gold, it's super good. So Soul King is good for that. He's good for Battle Tower. He's kind of okay for like Shadow Dragon, because I guess if he kills the little guys to begin with, he's gonna get strong enough at the end to kill the Shadow Dragon. But that's not necessarily super worth talking about. But because most of the content in the game is towers, high tower floors, Soul King is decent at because he's also healing himself, and Battle Tower is also good because he's the damage that he's gaining from killing things is good. His health could suck, but with Garo boosting him and things like that, as long as he can kill you, he's gonna start gaining stats and healing himself and gaining stats. So Soul King is a very, very solid card. In fact, in my opinion, his ability puts him above everybody else so far. I would put him at the S tier. It would be low S tier if there's any other cards up there, because his original self with the 25% to 75% was definitely high S tier, possibly SS tier.
Yeah. Before the nerf, I had him at S plus. Right now, he's at S for me, and I mean, he's just, in my opinion, he's super good. He's just, yeah. So that's
It's
for sure.
funny. It's definitely, for me, there's an argument to be made about moon cards not having necessarily good stats, but super desirable abilities.
No, but he has good
He's
stats.
a prime example.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
has
he
good
does.
stats.
He does. What I'm saying is, moon cards, to make the game a bit more fair, is like moon cards not having super fantastic amazing abilities.
Yeah.
Not abilities, sorry, stats, but their abilities being desirable. That's something that I advocate for.
Yeah.
But he's a good example of that. He does have good stats, right? But his ability is very
What makes
desirable.
him, yeah. I agree.
Very similarly to him, like these two go hand in hand in their pre-nerf days. Null and Soul King, and in my opinion, Soul King is better because he can heal himself, and that's a very strong ability for a carry card to have, is to be able to heal yourself. Because if not, you've got to run Shinobi cells and hope that that thing's going to go off. Alright, so we're going to go type in Null, and we'll read off his new ability, which is when this card is attacked, there's a 40% chance that it will create a black hole, mitigating the opponent's attack, and turns 30% of the damage into a damage buff. That is the exact same as it was. Did they undo the nerf, or is there something I'm missing about his nerf?
To me, he was nerfed. I think it was nerfed. Or did they bring it back?
It reads the exact same on the Trello, and the Trello is the old text. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just coded differently or what the case might be. But we'll just use him as his old pre-nerf self. He, in my opinion, he's not as great as Soul King, because again, healing yourself, and Soul King's reliability on killing them is a guaranteed I'm gonna get the boost. Null is only has a 40%
chance. Yeah, I agree. So,
but it's still
pretty good.
It's still stronger than everybody else, though. What is it? S tier, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's pretty easy to put there because he's gonna be stronger than Kaido, which is a 30% chance to get maybe kill him later. But no, stealing stats is big because your opponent has big strong monster card. Guess what? You steal his stats, you're gonna get some.
You
of
gotta,
those.
yeah.
All right. So it's funny we don't have Dragon Deity, I don't think, up here, but he was a previously available moon card. I don't own him. If we did have him up here, I would legitimately put him at SS tier. He is a slot 4 card that is insane.
Dragon Deed?
I'm not even sure I know what card that is, if I'm being honest.
That's from Mushoku Tensei, and it was an event or limited card, and his ability reads grants all allies 35% chance to reflect 25% of incoming damage while this card is alive. Gains 20% stats for each ally with dragon in its name. So you could put him at the front and give him a whole bunch of boosts, or you could put him at the back and give everybody a 35% chance to not take any damage and to hurt them, and that is an insane ability.
I agree.
It would be SS tier. So for all you people watching who don't see the picture up there and get to this part of the video, and you own him, super mega amazing. Well, hope he comes back. Don't know why they make cards like that. I've never been big on limited cards.
Yeah, just like the 7-star hunter. I don't have a 7-star hunter. That pisses me off.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I want to be able to own every card, and just because I got here late, I don't get to have it.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair.
So
I wonder what they're going to do with to go on a tangent though, because I completed the Sky King stuff and I have like 4K extra gems. So I wonder if they're gonna add like, I don't know, some sort of shop so we can use them.
I imagine they could, but I don't think they will. I know he's probably not going away, and as long as you have a reason to do them, as long as you haven't completed all the quests, the limited quests that give you the card packs and all that stuff. So, but I would that would be a cool idea. But I have a feeling that they probably think you can just buy more Sky Kings to increase your chance of being able to tier them up to gold or something.
I guess.
I don't like that, but that would be my guess.
Yeah. Makes sense.
All right. So now we're going to the Monarch Moon cards. These are giving you 45 luck, which is fantastic, but obviously now Tsukiyomi Moon exists. So
Yeah.
Iself is a situation where there's a reason why speedrun is really good. It's for killing multiple cards and clearing floors faster. Iself is a situation where if you didn't have any speedrun cards, but you had him, he'll get the job done, and he's strong. So his ability reads, every other attack throws an ice spear that deals 35% of this card's damage to the enemy card and pierces through to the next. The spear has a 30% chance to freeze the first enemy on hit. Honestly, this freeze is in this 1v1 card, very strong, really good ability, just overall very strong card.
Yeah.
But in the sense of speed running, the freeze doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't make a difference.
You kind of just want him to be able to kill multiple cards in that case. And because he's one of the cards that can do that, it's a good ability. He's a strong card. He has a decent ability. Ultimately, especially because his stats are so high, it would be in my opinion, he'd be up there. He's definitely above Love Hashira. I wouldn't know if I would put him above Grimmjow or before Grimmjow or what, but in that area, I would say he's A tier, possibly above or before Grimmjow. That's kind of where I'm thinking.
Yeah, same. I have him in A as well. We could put him just because of the multiple enemies. I think I'll put him before. But,
he also has higher base stats, of course.
Yeah. So
always something to consider. But not anything to write home about. But still, it's a Kmart version of a speed.
Yeah.
All right. So Sentinel Statue. Now this card, very cool, very very cool card. I think it even still causes some very interesting interactions. But this is a massively RNG based card. So Sentinel Statue is a slot 4 card for sure. The system. Allies have a 30% chance to revive with 20% health once per card while this card is alive. If this card is the last one played, it enters with 50% max health. He has a lot of health. bordered version of this card, very strong. It ultimately, if you had a secret version, I think that I would run him almost in every single team I've got, because 50% extra health is insane.
Yeah.
And he's a great recipient because of that. Everybody's going to be able to revive, and I think that unlike the previous revive changes to Fallen Knight, I think Sentinel Statue's revive passes down Fallen Knight multiple times. I could be wrong, but it did before, and I think his still does. If it doesn't, that's okay, but it's just one more reason why that's an insane ability. Reviving cards getting extra turns, and he gains health at the end. Like, ultimately, this is a situation where obviously super high stats, he's up there in the S tier. And in certain, if you had him in secret, I'd probably say he's SS tier. He's like, it would be a crazy ability to have for your strongest cards, right? But he's S tier for sure.
Yeah. S tier.
What else do we got? We've got Sentinel Statue. Who's the oh yeah, Shadow General.
Shadow General.
I honestly don't even want to read off this massive line of text, but this is a great ability. Super great stuff. Also goes with Shadow Monarch. This is very similar to Chimera Ant Cat. The only reason why Chimera Ant Cat is so much better than him is because you have a much higher chance to just keep freaking stunning your enemy over and over and over again, which is insane. But this guy has a lot of options, and there's a 10% chance for each one of these things to go off together. It's not one of these things are going to get picked.
It's yeah, you can do multiple.
All of them can go off if they so choose. And they're all pretty... A 50% damage buff is actually kind of insane. I'm going to say that right now. If you get that, that's even better. This card is fantastic. Bordered, it'd be literally also slot 4 if I could help it, right? You can't run both Sentinel and him at the same time in slot 4. But I don't really want to read the text, but I will just for the sake of the video. We'll say, before an ally attacks, this card has a 10% chance each turn to cast, heal for 20% max health, shield for 1 turn, 50% damage buff, burn for 15% max health lasting 2 turns. Each effect rolls separately, multiple can activate each turn. And if you're pairing him with Awakened Shadow Monarch, he gets 50% extra stats. So ultimately, as a support card, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic card. Obviously, it's completely separate from almost every other card except for Sentinel Statue. I'm almost of the mind that this is SS tier. I'm almost of the mind that it is. It's so good. It's such a good... Support cards are just super good. I can say that I think that he deserves to be, top of the S tier, but I also could argue that he's SS tier. I'd leave it up to your judgment what you think, but it's so powerful.
See, I had it in S tier because I forgot that multiple could go off at once. So, based on that, you're right, and I'm wrong. So, yeah, S plus.
So there's another. So 7-star Hunter apparently is an old Monarch Moon card. We'll read it off real quick. On entry, gain 20% bonus XP. Then launches a powerful strike, dealing 3 times damage. This is essentially Crimson Demon, and Crimson Demon is very strong because doing immediate damage is good. So we talked about what's it called, Flame Deity being strong.
Yeah.
Earlier. 7-star Hunter is strong for the same reason. He is going to be very, very strong against, at a high border, of course. He's going to be very, very strong against single enemies. So I wouldn't necessarily say he's SS tier because I don't know at what point he has enough damage to actually one-shot things. But it is a very strong ability. He's either top of A tier or bottom of S tier. But we don't have his picture, so I'm just going to say that's where I think he goes.
Okay. I don't know why they moved him in game. Like, I still...
I didn't even know they existed until I saw it in the tower.
Okay.
And then they removed the ability for you to even see cards that you can't get anymore from the tower. So, alright. So they do actually have the Tsukuyomi Moons on the Trello, which is interesting. So maybe Null's old text actually isn't on here. So regardless, we're moving on to the upgraded Itachi, which is Awakened Crow Master. Mm-hmm. The opponent has a 35% chance to hit themselves for 50% of the damage of their attacks, up to 2 times. When paired with the card Flicker Ninja, the chance increases to 60% and can trigger up to 3 times. Obviously, Tsukuyomi Moon cards have the highest stats of all those cards in the game.
Yep.
Right? And a 35 up to 60% chance to make someone attack themselves is very, very strong.
Outlandish.
It is a bit outlandish. Would I put it up there at SS tier? No, because it's not like it's changing the game, but I would put it at S tier. Probably at the top of S tier currently.
Yeah, for me, I have him at S. If he's by himself, if he's with Flicker Ninja, he's at S plus. So
I got you.
S is fair.
Yep. Yep. Even with Flicker Ninja, I'm trying to reserve the S in my mind, the SS tier for cards that really make a difference for one reason or another. You could have a card that has 3 billion damage and 3 billion health, and I wouldn't necessarily say he's SS tier just because it's just stats and doing damage. He could die to Saitama. He could die. He could die.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny. But yeah,
Right?
you're right.
But these cards in SS tier, they're doing something extra. Sentinel statue is a consideration for SS tier because he's doing something.
Yeah.
The others, they're just
Good
they're very
cards.
strong cards
Yeah.
that do cool stuff. All right, so Flicker Ninja, we've got Turn to Dust. Each time this card is attacked, counter attack for 60% of this card's damage. When paired with Awakened Crow Master and below 30% health, trigger False Reality Jutsu once, which stuns the opponent for 2 turns. I don't really care for his False Reality thing.
Yeah,
because
me
it's
too.
like
I don't
you're
think it
only
makes
stunning-
much of a difference.
It's so funny to me to see that Pain stuns an entire team on entry, and then this guy's like, hey, I'm going to stun one guy for 2 turns. They're going to be dead. They're going to be dead at that point.
Yeah.
No card. These abilities that seem like they're good because they're going to do something for 2 or 3 turns, they don't exist because they're going to be dead. They're not going to live long. You would have to be fighting a card with infinite health and no damage.
Yeah.
It doesn't...
Yeah. I think though, like in a 1v1 situation, let's say we both won our last cards. This is my last card. I haven't paired with Crow Master. The last part of the ability might make a difference because it could be the reason I do kill you. But in general, I don't think it makes much of a difference. You're right.
Yeah. The counterattack for 60% of his damage is very strong. He's just a very strong card. The stun, it's still good. You're still going to stun your opponent at 30% health. It's still good. I would put him up there probably either above Soul King or in between him and Null. Like, it's still a great card. His space stats are so high. It's
I'll actually put him after Ita, yeah.
Gotcha. I'm good with that too. All right, now this is a real big problem. I hate this next card.
I love
is
it though. That's the
bane-
thing. I love it. But
Yeah.
go on.
This is the bane of boost meta, Fallen Knight meta's existence in High Tower. Because you could have a card that has 3 trillion damage. This guy will kill you. Why? Because he's going to make you attack yourself with your own damage. And I hate that. Alright, so if this card's damage is lower than the enemy's, it has a 60% chance to dodge the incoming attack by redirecting it into another dimension. The attack is then sent back at a random enemy card with 20%. Oh, that says random enemy card. I don't remember that being the case. Let me dimensional shifter. It is a random enemy card. So not nearly as bad as I thought, but unfortunately in a 1v1 situation, I'm pretty sure it's going to
Yeah, it's the one card, yeah.
the one card. So a lot of people were initially calling for him to be buffed or changed because they thought that was a stupid ability. If
To be
you're weaker
buffed?
than them, yes, the reason being is because the thought process that they had was, if you're weaker than the enemy, then that's fine. But he's got such high base stats. When is that gonna happen?
Exactly.
And that's a fair assessment to make, but the problem is that when it does go off, this ability is extremely powerful.
Yeah.
And so in Tower is where really it's more of a frustration in Tower than anything. You fight that in Tower, you have more damage than him. He ends runs like old Null used to run, end runs. Not fun to deal with. It's a great ability. I do share the same sentiment of the idea that, like, his stats are so high, you're less likely to be in a situation.
He's the second
where,
best card in the game, bro. Chances are you're not running.
Yes, exactly. But in the chance that you are, let's say the enemy's running boost and they're above your Obito for one reason or another, then it's a good card. So hitter, if in a vacuum where we're not thinking about base stats, it's definitely S tier. Probably either above Flicker Ninja or below Flicker Ninja. He could be better than Tachi. He's up there. He's very similar to his other Tsukuyomi Moon card things, but with the consideration of his base stats, I don't know that I'd necessarily move him, but I don't like it. I don't. It's hard to assess.
Yeah, you're right. But
Where do you have him?
I think I have him at S plus, bro.
No, I see. That's one of those things where it's like, again, for me, I wouldn't put him at S plus because he's not changing the game, right? If you feel like he's like the strongest Tsukuyomi Moon card or something, then I would put him at S, the highest S, but not S. But
So okay,
if that's
so
where you
wait,
feel
hold on. You think his not better than Itachi?
I think that in certain situations they are doing very similar things. So let me pull up Awakened Chrome. Do I? He's right there. So Itachi is gonna make the enemy attack themselves up to 2 times, possibly 3 times, right?
Yeah.
His damage plus the enemy's damage hitting themselves is probably gonna wipe the whole enemy team -1 card. So it's hard to say. I would probably put him above Itachi. I just wouldn't necessarily put him in SS, because again, like my definition of the SS is they are altering the game in some kind of way where it's like, this is desirable, this is honestly really fantastic. All 3 other cards up there, Flame Deity, he clears a certain level of content every time and will continue to do so. You've got Garo, who is who's the best
an amazing
enabler in the
booster.
entire game.
Yeah.
He's the best one possible. And then you've got Shadow General, who does
Just broken.
so much.
He's just broken.
Yeah, I try to refrain from saying broken because I hate if a dev hears something like that.
Okay,
like,
yeah,
broken.
fair. He's really good. He's a really
He is really good. But the one argument I could make for SS for Obito in this specific instance is I think he's a really good story card. I think that when you have a basic Obito, you can basically beat all the other story cards because
sure.
they are stronger than him, and he just has to get his ability to go off. And if it does,
it's GG.
You're pretty well set. He's a great card for story, but that's the only reason why I put him at SS. But
Okay, let's see where you rank Sarada, and based on that, I'll see if I change the ranking.
Alright, so last card, which is Ninja Iris, which is Sarada from Boruto. Again, we just love Naruto here for some reason. So many Naruto cards. 8 Pillar Comet.
Okay, one second. Let me stop you for a second. Where would you rank Naruto in your top 5 anime?
You talking about top 5 anime?
Yeah, just Naruto. Where would you rank him?
If we're moving, okay, that's kind of weird because I don't know if he makes my top 5 anime.
What?
Yeah, because I'm not one of those.
Nah,
I've
bro.
watched all the big ones. I've watched Bleach. I've watched I'm still currently I'm caught up on One Piece. I've watched Dragon Ball Z all the way through Super. I've watched Naruto all the way through. I've watched all those, and I love all of them. But that doesn't mean that those are the anime that I think are the best of all time. They're great anime. I love them, but I don't know that he would make it to top 5. So, unless you're asking a different question, I don't know that Naruto makes it to my top 5.
Okay, let's move on.
I will say though, it is a fantastic anime. So we're just gonna say that I don't have any issues with Naruto. So I do have issues. I do have issues with Boruto though.
Okay, that's valid, but I'm gonna send a mob after you for Naruto, bro.
I got you. I mean, just because it's not top 5, I love it. It's a fantastic anime, so I've got no complaints.
Yeah.
All right, so 8 Pillar Comet. Comet. Every other turn before this card attacks, unleash a massive fire style jutsu that deals 125% of this card's damage and burns the enemy for 20% damage over 2 turns. I don't know. I need to read anymore. What's the purpose? You're gonna hit them for 125%. They're already dead with your attack. What's the point? Anyway, on entry, when paired with Flicker Ninja or Awakened Crowmaster, trigger a one-time ultimate attack that damages the entire enemy party for 20% of their, which again, the enemy's
Yeah,
team's
family
max
ties,
health.
bro.
Yes. So this card is just oversaturated with things in it. It is redundant because it is so strong. Why does it need to deal first of all 125% of their own damage again? And then why on top of that is it burning for 20% of their damage over 2 turns? They're already dead. They're already dead.
Yeah.
And the only situations where that's not the case is if it's tower and it's against some crazy card. And at that point, it's better off to let the tower end.
Just reset.
You're just RNGing your way through multiple floors, which takes too much time. So there's no situation where this is desirable. However, if we're talking about just raw power, this is the strongest card. This is outside of Sailor Moon. This is the strongest card.
Yeah, for sure.
This is legitimately one of the most ridiculous abilities in the game because it basically says you die. And then on top of that, a free 20% damage on the entire enemy team. You don't even need that. If you touch them once, they're dead.
Yeah, no, I read like when the update dropped and I read the card, I was in disbelief to say the least.
It is so interesting to see cards like this. To me, this is one of those things where like the mass of players will look at it and go, "That is fantastic. I want it." And that's what you want as a game developer. You just want people to want the thing. But from someone who looks at it like, where's the game's direction? Where is the competitive environment? What is this card exists to solely piss me off.
Yes. I mean, though, the thing is, in a game like this, you need some cards that seem unnecessary, if that makes sense. You need cards that seem way better than they need to be to excite players at certain points in the game. Especially now, in a case where, again, we're waiting for some stuff that seemed to be taking forever, and I think this is, or that Moon update was necessary.
Yep. Absolutely. We needed something to get players along, of course. And then obviously it's an exciting card. I still look at this card though, and I go, if we're eventually gonna have ranked, and we're gonna have rules, and it's not just gonna be a, hey, my secret deranged elder assassin clears your entire team instantly because I just got so lucky that I pulled it, and I'll win every ranked game that I ever go into. If that's not where we're gonna be when we eventually get competitive, why? Why did you make this?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Which, of course, the answer is what you said.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, like, you mentioned PvP, and I'm honestly thinking about how exactly are they going to make this work? Because I mean, I know they say it's gonna be based off Elo, which is, I mean, that
it's
doesn't
already
mean
based
much.
off Elo technically.
Well, yeah,
yeah, it doesn't. Nothing changes because you can't fight people under or above 400 Elo anyway. You could just Elo's not going to change a thing, because if the only thing that would do is that the people who have the secret DEAs or the secret SIDs or whatever it is that they have, they're just going to float to the top. And if you end up in that bracket and you're not, you don't have those cards, you're just going to get bullied. There's no, it doesn't need to be based off of an arbitrary number. If you're going to do something like ranked and it's going to be competitive, you've got to actually create a tailored environment. If I were to take a guess at a jab at what they would potentially do for competitive, not necessarily, increase your elo like it is right now, it's whimsy, whatever, who cares. It would be, they're going to code the game differently in the ranked environment. And they're probably going to adjust stats of cards, maybe even make every card have the same damage and health. I'm not going to say that's exactly true, but I would like to bet that it's going to create rule sets, it's going to create restrictions, and it's going to make it so that way you're going to have to choose your cards. It's not going to just be, hey, my card has
The highest number.
The highest number, so I triple my chances of winning or whatever.
Yeah.
I think they're going to code it differently. They're
I
gonna
mean,
make it so that way
that would be nice, but I honestly don't think they're gonna do that. I mean, if they do it, that's great because that makes it more competitive. But based on how they're operating, I don't see that being the case, honestly.
I just off of track record and off of no communication,
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat as you for what I think is probably more the reality. But if I was considering what would be
Most optimal.
ideal
Yeah.
and my wishful thinking, what I've always wanted, it would be something like what I'm saying.
They should recruit you as like a moderator, bro.
I've honestly, I've reached out. I've been very interested. I've applied for tester. I would very much love to, if they're going to have a balanced team, if they're going to do anything in that regard, I would love to do that stuff. I would love to talk it. I would love to hear their thoughts, because at the end of the day, if I was on the team and they told me, listen, we are just going to let Ninja Iris be as strong as she is because that's what we want, I'm going to adhere to that. But I don't know what they want. So I
Yeah,
can sit
because you
here
have
all
no
day
idea.
and say,
Yeah.
yeah, I can say I don't think that's fair. I think that's kind of weird. I don't think it should be there because I have no idea. But I would love to be a part of that kind of thing. But until then, if ever, I'm just gonna sit here and complain about it, talk about it. You know,
I mean,
look for
yes,
answers.
Alright, guys. So this is what the tail list looks like. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.